They say an aircraft carrier is the safest place for a pilot. Whoever said that clearly never stood on a flight deck during World War II. Because out here, one spark, one wave, or one unlucky landing could turn a floating city into a floating funeral. And today, well, today was one of those days. Our day begins the way it always does, with the SB-2C Helldiver, nicknamed by pilots as the Son of a, leaping off the deck with a destroyer in the background, cutting through the Pacific swells like it's late for church. The weather? Let's call it violently unfriendly. Winds were tossing the ship so hard that even the hangar deck crew, men who had survived kamikazes, typhoons, and Navy coffee, were holding on for dear life as the sea sprayed through every open hatch. The ship groaned, the deck flexed, and still the flight operations continued, because in 1944 and 45, the Pacific didn't care how you felt. You had a mission, so you flew. And then it happened. One TBF Avenger, big, sturdy, reliable, suddenly turned into a fireball. Fuel leak, ignition, boom. Within seconds, flames were clawing their way across the flight deck. Sailors grabbed hoses, some wearing gear, some wearing whatever they had on, and charged straight into an explosion that wanted to swallow the ship whole. The deck itself was already warped from days of operations, and now fire was pouring into a jagged hole ripped open by the blast. Black smoke rolled across the carrier like a storm cloud, choking the air, turning the midday sun into a dim orange blur. But these men, they kept the hoses steady, because if the fire reached the torpedoes or the bombs below, this whole floating airfield was going to meet the ocean very quickly.
Medics, Navy corpsmen who were often barely older than 19, rushed through the flames and smoke, hauling out the wounded. One stretcher, then another, then another. Their boots slipped on fuel. Shrapnel still glowed red in some places, but the corpsmen moved as if they'd rehearsed it 1,000 times. A man burned, another with broken ribs, another coughing so hard from smoke inhalation that every breath sounded like tearing cloth. No medals here, just kids saving kids. The hoses kept blasting seawater into that burning Avenger, and slowly, inch by inch, the fire began to die. But the smell lingered, burned rubber, burned metal, and sometimes worse. A flight deck that had launched hundreds of planes was now torn open, charred black, and scattered with debris. And in the middle of it all, the silence after the chaos was somehow louder than the explosions. When the fires were out and the wounded treated, the ship performed the one ritual that every sailor prayed would never be needed: a mass burial at sea. Bodies wrapped in canvas, flags lowered, Marines firing a rifle salute into the gray sky. And then, one by one, the bodies slid into the open ocean, claimed by the Pacific they had fought so hard to cross. Because on a carrier, victory wasn't measured only in missions completed, but in how many men didn't come back. This was just one day aboard one carrier in a war filled with thousands of them. A reminder that sometimes the deadliest enemy wasn't the Japanese, but the ocean, the aircraft, and the fire right beneath your own boots.